really from November to January, there was not 1 hour of direct sunshine, right? So it's hard.
I think on that note,
It's
we
hard.
are live.
Yeah.
So we'll kick off the session. So welcome everyone. Today's topic is from founder to CPO with Alexander Kennepohl. He is the co-founder and CPO of Plantix. It's a pretty unique topic, and I am personally invested in it. But before we jump into it, a few notes on who I am and what Product People does. So I'm an associate product management consultant with Product People. I joined a couple of months back. This is my resume on the screen, but I will not bore you with its details. As far as Product People goes, so we are a product management consultancy. We provide interim product management, product leadership, and product ops services. We have 42 in-house employees, and our forte is that we basically onboard fast, we deliver outcomes, and we are not afraid to get our hands dirty. And we give back to the community by hosting events such as this one. And this is the reason why we are one of Europe's largest PM communities with over 30,000 members. So thank you to everyone who is here today and part of this community. We want to have a couple of questions just as an icebreaker before Alex takes the stage. I just want to let everybody in the Zoom chat know that the questions will pop up on your screen and you can select the answers. And for those people who are watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, you can drop your answers or your options in the comments section. So the first question is, which kind of product frameworks have you explored already? The options are continuous discovery habits, jobs to be done, OKRs, North Star, strategize, lean startup, double diamond, and design thinking. And the second question is, how much do you follow them? Religiously, I still use parts of them or not at all. So I will be looking at as the answers come in. And it's pretty interesting questions. I have dabbled with a lot of them, but it's mostly, you use them sometimes. And I think that's the reason why we have this presentation to personalize them and scale them. Okay, we have the answers in. The most used framework is OKRs. So that's pretty interesting. And then we have continuous discovery habits, jobs to be done, and North Star at 50%. Oh, design thinking is also at 70%. So design thinking and OKRs are the top two frameworks that our audience has explored. So pretty interesting. As far as the second question goes, as expected, 80% of the audience is in the middle. So they're using them time to time, and 20% of the audience is using them religiously. So that again is pretty impressive. I think that sets up the stage really nicely for Alex's presentation. Once again, Alex is the co-founder and CPO of Plantix. He has done a wonderful job with the product. I will stop sharing my screen, and Alexander, you can start presenting.
Good. I hope you can see my screen. Everything is visible.
Yeah.
Good. Then we can start. Cool. Hi. Thanks everybody for joining. Yeah, I'm Alex. Today we want to talk about navigating navigating product scaling with personalized product frameworks. So basically, as you've seen, that's really good that everybody has a good overview about different product frameworks, and I think everybody has them in their mind, and everybody's getting very excited about them, and then you try to adapt them, and sometimes you're failing because maybe the product is not at the right stage, or the team is not really buying into this, and I think that's not bad, right? So because in the end, it's coming down to the underlying principles of these frameworks that you need to build your toolbox as a product manager out of, right? The product manager is basically a craft, and you're basically also an engineer and has a toolbox. And I think it's very important to understand the principles and have the tools they have provide, and then you adapt them at the times when you really need them, or you put them out of your toolbox when you really need them. And yeah, because I think it's always very, very hard, and for me also the same thing as a CPO. Then I will also tell you later why I guess I can talk about this, and I have experience about it, because yeah, I also wanted, and I'm getting very excited about new frameworks, and then sometimes it was not fitting with the teams, and could get frustrating. But in the end, I don't care anymore about it, as long as we follow specific steps, and if we are sticking to the principles. And that's basically what I want to talk about. And also that you take these principles in this toolbox and you look at the stage of the product, and you have different tools for it. So basically, what I want to talk about, I will give a short intro about me and Plantix, because I don't think that like so many people know me and the product, because also the product is nothing which is for users, I guess, here in our round. It's for small scale farmers in India, for example. But later more to it. Then we look at common product frameworks, which we have already discussed, and I'm happy that everybody knows them basically. And I just want to point out the common elements and the principles and tools behind it, and how you basically can then customize them for your personal frameworks, and how you also build up profiles. Because what I see in recruiting is that you normally, as a person who's hiring people, you want to see if they can do the whole product process, right? From discovery to implementation to iteration testing and stuff like this. So you want to know if these people have the toolbox together and how they are applying it. And it's not about which kind of frameworks they use, but that they have these principles in mind and inherited, and that's very important. And for example, I had a meeting with some product leaders like 2 weeks back, and there you directly see that these people is like, we spoke about problems, and there was a problem, and they came directly and they could pinpoint in which part of the product development phase there's maybe a problem, right? So that you don't have a sound product strategy. So you don't have one. Where are you stuck? Is the strategy is not there? Is the tactics not there? If not, then do it, right? And I think it helps everybody to know these things, and to remind your thing about it, what tools you have and what steps and principles you have to follow, because then tasks get also easier. For example, I also taking over a new product which is not well managed, and it's like a big mountain of problems I'm faced with, and I don't know where to start. But then I look at basically my framework in my head to say like, okay, where do we start? Do we have a good product strategy? No, we don't have. Okay, let's do this, right? And then you basically follow this through, and you have always the next step the next step, what you have to do next. And you don't have to find it out by yourself, but you can take the product frameworks and they will guide you. Good. Okay, cool. Short intro to Plantix. Plantix Grow Smart. We help to make farming environmentally and economically more sustainable. We do this by building a digital ecosystem for small-scale farmers and their suppliers. So their suppliers are basically like small retailers around them, like small kiosks, which we have here. When the farmers have a problem, they can go there. And also the producers of plant protection products, fertilizers and seeds and stuff like this, but also tractor companies and stuff like this, right? So we have all these players in one ecosystem, and we basically use this ecosystem to provide digital solutions to them, sell innovative products, and offer new services to farmers and retailers to strengthen their business, and basically also to digitalize them. And basically the ecosystem has 2 apps, basically 3 products. We have on the one side the farmer app, which was basically the first part of our product journey, which is like an AI-based or AI diagnosis tool for plant diseases. Then, so if the farmer is in the field, takes a picture of a plant disease, then we tell them what kind of product problems there are, and then how to solve them. And they can then look in the online shop of the retailer if they find the fitting problem. So we basically match the farmers and retailers. And on the other hand, we're selling inputs to the retailers. So that's a pitch deck slide. So there's downloads. We should not look at downloads, right? So a little bit down, you see the active users. We have 1.3 million active users in October. We have like roughly 30,000 monthly active retailers, and we get a bunch of diagnoses per year. So we have gathered over 40 million diagnoses already. So, and basically where I'm coming from is I'm a founder of the company, co-founder, and we're coming from basically from university. We didn't have anything to do with product management. There was not really a CTO, CPO, or something like this in the beginning. We just like started to do this because we knew the technology would work. And then we found ourselves in there. And first, I was also on the agronomy side. I did the content for the disease recognition part. So I told what like the advice to the users. And later, I was going into the business development. And then recently, I basically took over the CPO position. And now, then I had to get into the topic, right? So I was reading a lot of product frameworks, was getting excited about them, but I had already 2 products and 2 product managers, which are really, really good. So I have 2 really good no product managers, but the head of products, at the moment, they are really good. I learned a lot from them, but sometimes I wanted also to push specific product frameworks, which I wanted to follow the whole company through. And then I failed, right? Because there's different people working and different cultures. For example, the farmer app is developed in Germany, the retailer app is developed in India. That's like 2 different ways how people are working, and you cannot just like uniform it and then everybody's working the same thing. And also the head of products, they should have their own way of leading their product teams, right? Why should I tell them what to do? And they will know better how the team is working and how they can work more efficiently. But what I realized is that I need to take care that we are following principles, right? That we are not, for example, we have to have a good strategy, and we need a good alignment. We need really to look at that we learn with every release we are doing. And I can help as a CPO to ask sometimes to say like, hey guys, what are we doing here? Can we do it a little bit better? Have we done this step in this product development process for this kind of product? So I can ask the questions so that people are following it. Yeah, so then let's jump in. So basically we want to look now at different product frameworks, and you will know most of them, right? So when we started, the first thing when we were growing a little bit and we wanted to have alignment, we wanted to look at OKRs. Sure. But I think the first time we failed there a lot because we didn't have a lot of people, like OKRs should come from the bottom, and we basically put it top down, and then they were not really followed. The second time when we were already 150 employees, we also did it again top down, and we also failed there. So now we do it a little bit more bottom up, and the teams are working with the OKRs. So we have now succeeded to implement this. But it's also not that every team has to do it. It depends on the team and the department. Then what helped me a lot was jobs to be done, right? In the beginning, it's very, very good for getting you to understand the needs of the problems, give you a good structure, how to do interviews. Then later on, if you're growing more, you also have a North Star, right? You want to have everybody aligned. Then you hire product persons and designers. Then double diamond design thinking is coming in. Lean startup is always there a bit. And then we had the time where we had continuous discovery habits, which was coming in. And we learned a lot from it, but also took our good parts out of it and left some parts which we could not use. I will later on go to an example why we're not religiously using it, because it didn't fit the team size in the end, right? But later more to it. And for example, now last year we were looking more into strategize. I also took some parts out of this to have more outcome-based roadmaps. And if you now group them, then you know you have different areas where they are focusing on. For example, strategize, North Star, OKRs is more the strategic direction. Jobs to be done, continuous discovery habits is more focusing on discovery, and double diamond design thinking and lean startup is more about the execution iteration. Surely double diamond and design thinking and stuff, and also lean startup have discovery parts in there, but they're focusing more here on the execution and on the iteration approach. And as said, right, so you get a lot of excited about frameworks, and then you want to push them on the teams, and then you sometimes get pushbacks. But in the end, it's really important that we have, and I don't care anymore about frameworks, right? When I read frameworks, then I try to put I try to take the good things out and then apply it to us. And for example, all of these three things is long-term vision, right? You need to have a long-term vision. You need to have a sound product strategy that you're following. If you don't have it, then do it now and build one, because it will give you a good guidance what to do next, right? We need clear goal settings. And this clear goal settings will then lead to better alignment among the teams, right? And also, for example, it's the same thing. I was in a product leader discussion last time, and there was also the product strategy, or the whole company strategy was missing, and the whole team was not really knowing where to go. And if something happens in your company, take the leadership and try to implement it. Or if it doesn't come from the top, then put on your own product strategy or your own feature strategy that will help to really develop the product and go into a specific direction. And all of these things surely are have in common that you have to measure outcomes and not outputs, right? Which is, I think everybody knows this, right? But I see this so often in also interviews and also with our product managers, that sometimes we're still making these mistakes. And in the end, that's the 5 things you need to know, that these things are important. And these books are like together 1,000 pages, right? But in the end, these are the things which you have in your head, and always ask yourself, do I have them ready for my product, right? And if I don't have them ready, then I can look into these books or into these frameworks, and then look at the guidelines, how to set them up. Maybe looking at some templates and some examples for the OKRs, because OKRs always sound so simple, but in the end, if you really want to do it good, then look at the book and check it out, and it will get a lot clearer how to really formalize them. And the same thing also for the discovery. These 2 books have the same thing, right? It's like about solving real problems. That qualitative research will lead to a discovery of opportunities. Quantitative research will help you to know where something is broken, but qualitative research will help you to identify the opportunities. And the most important thing, that you have an iterative and learning process. With every release, we want to get better, but we can just do it if you identifying the assumptions and if you test the assumptions, and you should do it always, right? And if you don't do it with a release, then you have to ask yourself what I'm doing wrong, because if you don't have assumptions behind it, and if you don't test them in a good environment, then you will not be smarter with the next release. So sometimes I see it like a common mistake is, we release a big, or somebody wants to do everything, right? They want to release a big feature. And later on, maybe we release a big feature, and then something is getting better or worse, but we don't know why, because there are so many things in there which we have released with one iteration, that we are not smarter. And that will, maybe you have done a bigger step, but you will not be smarter anyhow later. And I have also the feeling that if you're planning big things, then they also take double the time. So separate them, do every test, validate your assumption with every iteration, and then you get smarter in the end. Yeah, and the tools here we have, like, if you don't have it, then you look into the interview structure, which Job to be done really gives a very good guidance there. Then opportunity ranking, which is really important to really narrow down on what you should focus. And what I think, is it coming here? I hope so, yeah. The assumption and validation process, for example, in continuous discovery habits, you have there, for example, a pre-mortem that you can do where you simulate what could go wrong if you release it today along the whole user journey, and then you have a lot of assumptions, and then you pick the assumptions that you need to validate with the test if the opportunity is the right one that you are attacking. And then in the last part, right, we have the execution and iteration. We have the same thing there, right? We should have a user-centric design. We should experimenting and testing to learn again, and that we have an outcome-driven approach. And for this, you have tools like prototyping and the ideation techniques, basically, which you have in design thinking, and also double diamond, and like how you following like an implementation process, right? So So you can ask yourself always, do I have checked this along the funnel, along the different steps? And this will help you also to drive the product development, right? Do you think in which kind of stage of the product development process am I? Do I have checked all my boxes for these 4 or 5 things? If not, maybe I should read how I can check the box. And then because you will be a lot of times you have a new feature and you don't know where to start. But in the end, you just have in mind and inherited what you need to take care of, and then it will get super easy. And I have the same thing still. For example, with a new product I have to lead, it was like so much work and I don't know where to start. And then I was thinking like, okay, do I have everything which I have for my other products, right? And I have maybe also in my mind already how this looks like. And this brings us to your toolbox that you're creating. For example, I would know how this looks in Figma when I do my KPI tree for a product. I have done this for 2 or 3 products. I know how to do it now. I have my toolbox for validating or for identifying the assumptions. Doesn't have to be a pre-mortem, could be anything else, right? But I have my tool for setting up a test. I know how to evaluate the test. And that's will you help a lot for your interview process, because there will be a question for all these tools the people have. If they're good interviewers, they have questions to find out if you have the right tools for the development process. So build your own toolbox, which come out of these frameworks, and inherit it, right? It doesn't. So sometimes people just follow these frameworks, but they don't know why, right? You have to know why you're doing this and why it's so important for you. And the next thing is that you have to fit it to the stage of the product. For example, as we said, jobs to be done is very good for early. It can also be for late, right? But or for example, continuous discovery habits. It needs a team out of a product manager, a designer, an analyst, and I think that's the minimum it requires. But if you have just this team and it works on the whole product, on multiple features, you will not devote the whole team for making now one feature for maybe the next half year better, because in continuous discovery habits, you really drive a lot of tests in parallel and try to learn a lot. And sometimes you cannot afford it, or the team structure is not there. When you have squads, when you are in Spotify and you just look at the checkouts for paying or something like this, then surely you can do this. But if you maybe have a core team that has different areas where they have to improve on at the moment, then maybe it's not the right thing. But there are a lot of things in there which you can use for drive the product development. And then the next thing is, which is really important, is that you create your own style and that you create your own profile. And that's again a little bit, I think there's a lot of people hiring. We are also a lot of people searching for or open for hire. We have at the moment a vacancy, so you can also check out our Plantix site if you want to apply for it. But I see that the funnel is at a moment full, and that's why I want to a little bit double down on this one, because it's very important for me as recruiting persons is that I know which kind of profile this person has, right? Sometimes you have these people that are more the testers, more the data-driven persons, sometimes more the business product developers, more the researchers, or more the designers. And if you build your own style, you will also come up with your own ideas. And I think it always is nice to have different people in the team that come up with own ideas, because the own ideas will be the difference makers, right? You can have all the nicest toolbox, you can have read everything, you can be super smart to fit it maybe to the stage of the product, but in the end, the idea is really the one thing which how to solve the problems is really the most important thing. And I think you can just do it by being like super, like do it how you would do it, how it's natural to you, and not how other people would say how you should solve the problem. Good. The last slide, basically some examples. I think I have told them already. So continuous discovery. So what we are doing, like continuous discovery habits, we still use things out of it, how we organizing our discovery process and how we're visualizing it. We have this nice tree of our opportunities and the solutions behind it. And we still use it and we still maintain it in Figma, but we have also adapted and have mirrored it, for example, to Asana. And then from there on, we're doing the task management, which is also, I think, a good idea. And I try to pound a lot to do like pre-mortems to identify the assumptions behind it so that we can learn and yeah, iteratively learn. We have a template for testing, which is super easy, right? But it's just like, what is my assumption? What do I want to validate? We are right if we do this. And I have a targeted outcome of the test, not that we are shitting ourselves and say like, okay, now we have 5% increase and that's a good test. But you should from the beginning say like, okay, we want to achieve 30%, otherwise it's a failed test. And so jobs to be done, I personally use, I think we don't use it so much in our company, but I think for early discovery phase of a product and just like to look into it, oh, how should I do an interview when I speak to a customer? And strategize at the moment to set up a sound product strategy and to have outcome-based roadmap planning, which is, I think, also super important for us to track the measure the success, but we don't use all the templates and there's a lot other things coming with it. I don't care. I just, yeah, want to have these principles together. And I think that everybody can do it, and you will also learn by every more problems that you solve and more frameworks that you read in. But just like think a little bit about what they all have in common, because that's are the most important things. And these frameworks just help you that you don't forget about the most important parts of the product development process. But if you have inherited it because 2 or 3 of the same things are like that, you, for example, the assumptions and the validation, right? Then you don't need the framework. You do it because that's your craft and that's what you are basically, yeah, that's natural to you. And that's, I think, where you can really perform well, because it takes less time for you to take up new challenges because you have already solved them and you have a tool for them to solve them. And in the end, it's very repeated, like what the challenges are in product, right? So if you take it from a higher level. Yeah, that's basically it. Really good in time, I think.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. I will now share my screen again. Cool. Once again, thank you, Alex. This was truly insightful. I'm sure a lot of golden nuggets for our audience. I personally resonated with just understanding the principles, because in modern day product management, you frequently see new frameworks popping up, and you really need to understand what are the common principles and flavor or morph them into what the context requires. So now we'll begin the Q&A session. For the people who have joined via Zoom, you can start dropping your questions in the Zoom chat. And then for people who are joining through YouTube or LinkedIn, feel free to share the questions in the appropriate comment sections. While you send over your questions, I will share a bit more about Product People. So Product People basically covers 3 use cases. Our first use case is interim and fractional product management. So basically, we're covering cases such as parental leaves or sabbaticals, or let's say you're trying to find a new product manager for a full-time position, and that hiring process can take some time. So we can cover that duration, and typically the engagements are 3 to 12 months. And we can help in basically, onboarding really fast and delivering outcomes. The second use case that we commonly go with is product coaching and consulting. So you might already have a product team, but we can come in and basically upskill them. The third use case is product discovery. So in this case, we are helping discover the next impactful initiative or product, doing MVPs or workshops and all that fun stuff. This is a list of selected B2C clients. So we have worked with big names such as Zalando, Ecosia, Backmarket, and similarly on the B2B side, we have worked with World Health Organization, Pliant, and many more. All in all, we have worked with over 200 cross-functional teams. We have 42 product leaders and product managers. And we are really proud that women comprise 62% of our team and 66% in our leadership. And these are the amazing folks that I work with. It's truly a blessing to work with them, learn from them. And in that same spirit, we are hiring. So we are looking for associate product managers, we are looking for product consultants. So feel free to explore this link and apply. I would also like to invite everyone to subscribe to our newsletter. It's, our motto is to share and spread knowledge generously. So you will receive inspiring product stories and insights in your inbox. And with that, I will start with the Q&A. So let me go through the questions list. Okay, so the first question is from Dimitri from YouTube. Could you please tell some details how your discovery processes are organized? I mean, the complexity of interacting remotely with users of your apps in India. So that's really interesting.
Yes, it's very, very interesting. So we have the worst time was when it was COVID, when we really not could go to the fields. So that was the worst time. Now we have set up a user research team in India, which the product managers can submit questions to, and then we do this. But this also takes time. So there's no personal interaction from the user. And our product managers, normally they also go once per year to India to basically explore and do user testing and discovery process. In the end, the good thing is also that we have a lot of persons also in our company which are Indian, and they help us also in the discovery process. So that's one other part. And I think we have also learned to use a lot of quantitative data to find out the problems. And then we do user surveys or user research then with our team on the ground to come up with opportunities. And then we basically take them forward. But it's very hard, and we struggled a lot with, and I'm happy now that we have again a user research team. And before it was also sometimes without any discovering, it was just like their own ideas and then creating very small tests to see if we're moving into the right direction in COVID times. So that was a challenging time, but also a good time because we were looking a lot on data and developing a lot of tests to see if we're moving into the right direction.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Alex, for answering that question. I see that Sue has raised her hand, so I will let her take the stage. Please ask your question.
Thank you very much. I actually wanted to add more to this question because I was very curious. I'm being an Indian living in Germany for the last 10, 12 years. You have two customers because it's B2B. It's more complex. So one side you have the farmer, the other side you have the retailer. So when you do the user survey, you probably have to do survey on both the sides because you're connecting them together via your app, if I'm understanding it correct, right?
Correct. So, but since we have two apps, then it's easy to separate them. But it's true, our user research team does both. They're visiting retailers and they're visiting farmers and doing the user research there.
Then I have this question, like you being German, how you understand the cultural perspective and that to take in the UX UI because the farmer, they are probably not that digital native, and of course also the retailer, and how you consider all these features together and as well as understand their problem and give a solution. I understand you have a research team sitting in India, but as a product head, and you have been 8 years in this company, so you must be having a long-lasting journey of your experience, and I'm very curious to know that journey.
It's super hard, and I think still we have not figured it out. So I think we have from the usage numbers the most used app and the one with the most retention from agricultural space. But surely the user group of smallholder farmers, and in particular the farmers, is like the hardest user group I could ever imagine. So it was easy to go to India because we wanted to. We had the technology and we knew that there's the most smallholder farmers. But what comes with it is like super hard work. And I still think we have to explore it. So, for example, we have still a lot of text, and we have done the 10,000 times of rewriting the text and having more icons and more pictures. But for example, now also using a little bit ChatGPT and other LLMs we want to build own LLMs to try to go more into conversational interaction from the users with the app, and also that maybe the LLM can basically answer questions to the content we are providing to them. So that's still what we have to still figure out. But in the end, I think, for example, for the health check, we really did a lot of iterations and a lot of worked a lot on the funnel to make it as easy as possible to use. But it's super hard, and still we have to figure out how we do it better. Still we have too much text. Still we should use more videos, and that's what we have to do. But there's a lot of new technologies also that we read out the content, also text to speech, but also speech to text, which we apply at the moment. I think there we are also 1 year too late, but I think that's what I think always.
I congratulate you for your success. I consider this had been a very hard journey, and I'm excited.
But it's also super exciting, right? So Lindsay is also here. She's also product manager of us. She will go basically next week to India. It's always nice. We have a lot of cool people on the ground. We are working with, and we are working since 7 years with them together. It's always nice to travel there, to see the agriculture, to sit with the farmers, and we are also super happy and thankful to have the opportunity. We could have done this also for farmers in Western agriculture, but it was a choice also for us to do something different.
Thank you, Alex. Toy for the future.
Thank you so much, Sue. That was a great question and a great answer. And Alex, you touched upon ChatGPT and LLMs, and coincidentally, we have a question. Do you use AI tools in your toolkit, and particularly in context of the frameworks that we discussed, like how do you use them?
And I think that's more a question. So for example, I think everybody's using them now in our company, for example, for user research, to feed it in, like you have some surveys, you feed it in to ChatGPT, you let it structure and basically cluster the insights and stuff like this. So as a toolkit for the discovery process, I think there should be AI somewhere in. Also, you can ask the questions, right, to ChatGPT. It knows a lot, right, to maybe guide you into the right direction to discover opportunities. So I think we are doing it. I think more interesting is also what the future will bring, right? So I think there will be planning tools for us product managers in the future, and assistants for us that help us to design these things, right? It's like, oh, we are now in this part of the development process. Now the assistant will maybe design a test for us, or will design how a workshop could look like to get to A and B. I think that will be things a lot coming up in the future, how AI is helping us and assisting us to be better product managers and to follow some things, because it's so easy, because as said again, there's so underlying principles that you need to do, and there's so much written about it that you normally can train AIs on it to help you to go through it and to know what to do next. And also at the moment, ChatGPT can do it already. Yeah, you cannot just like put it in, say like, okay, I'm here with this product, I have this task, what should I do next? I guess the LLMs will also have learned the underlying principles already, and then will guide you what to do next. So I think we'll get more and more important, right?
That makes total sense. A lot of use cases where AI can optimize our processes and products themselves. The second question we have from YouTube is, how do you organize your qualitative interviews?
Yeah, it's very hard. So we have our user research team. They normally help us. So basically, we have an opportunity that we want to research on, and then we have our user research team, and they come up with questions, and then we have a translator with us, and then we go with 4 or 5 people there, and we're doing our interviews, and then we translate it back, and then there's a lot of things lost, I think. So I think as a product manager, it's very hard, because you always get just like second hand information, and yeah, it's not so easy, but it's all dependent on that the user research also knows what we want to research on, and that we are together developing the questionnaires, and then we basically go into the field and then do it. And what we then do is normally, or when we are not there, then they go into the field and they provide a presentation with the insights they had, and then we do a round, hopefully always, sometimes we do it with the product managers and everybody together, and then we're going through it, and then we identify the takeaways and again the opportunities, and these are the ones which we're logging into our roadmap planning. So that's a little bit. Yeah, we have questions we want to research on. The product manager is going to the field, but most times just the user researcher is going to the field. They gather all the information, they process it, and then they have a presentation. We go all together through it, and then we take the takeaways, and then basically maybe one or two things coming into the roadmaps. That's basically how it went in the perfect case, but sometimes also just the product manager and the user researcher is just like doing it on their own. So yeah.
Great. Okay, so the next question is around pre-mortem. So Aniket, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. The question is, can you elaborate on pre-mortem? I have used pre-mortems in the context of product releases where we do pre-mortem to discuss what can potentially go wrong during or after the release, opposite to post-mortems. Curious to know how you use pre-mortems.
Yeah, we do it before the release. We do it in the discovery really, and then we say like, okay, we think about what could be the best, the solution when we have a opportunity and we have a solution to it. For example, chatbot for farmers. Then we would do a group meeting and then try to get persons from different departments together. Then we have the user flow, the different steps, and then we say what could go wrong in these different steps. So the user is frightened to put in their data. They think that somebody wants to charge them. They don't understand that they have to put something. ChatGPT is giving the wrong answer, and then you gather all the different assumptions. You cluster them by, for example, viability, desirability, feasibility, and stuff like this. And then you basically rank them. And then the biggest ones we then log in. And then we say we want to test this assumption, and we make a test around this assumption, and we're not making a test around the feature. And that's basically what you have in this continuous discovery habits. It's more about there not to release a feature and to learn with it, but it's more to validate the assumptions if the opportunity is the right one and if you're solving the problem. And that's what we are doing most of the cases, sometimes also not.
Great. Thank you for that answer, Alex. The next question is on the impact on agriculture. So the question is, Plantix focuses on small-scale farmers globally. Can you discuss the impact the product has had on agriculture and the challenges you have navigated in serving this market?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we had the impact study a few years back, 2 years back, 3 years back, and there was so 70% of the users reported that they have an increased income, household income, because they have a higher outcome of the yield. And also they're using less pesticides, because the problem in India, for example, is that they're using too many pesticides because you have a very long error chain. Like could be like the wrong detection of the problem. So normally they go with a leaf to the shopkeeper, and then he says or she says like, okay, could be this disease. Here, take this product, and then they test this product. It doesn't work, so they come back. So they're using 2 or 3 products. Also, sometimes the shopkeepers want to have them to use 2 or 3 products because they sell more. And we try then to just suggest one product. So we are not just like looking at biologicals and stuff like this. The first thing we need to cope with this number, and this number is like 50% of the plant protection products which they use are wrong, so that we can decrease this. And since we know that 80% of our users report an improvement in this regard, we can say that we have really a big impact on on 8 million, 9 million users per year at the moment. And we have like 10 million images which are sent basically per year, right? So even if we can give a good recommendation for 70% of it, would be like 7 million people we have impact on to help them with plant diseases. So that's nice, and very encouraging, and always nice to wake up and think about, okay, we're working really on something which makes the world better. And now what we're doing is to use the ecosystem also to get new products in, because we want to get rid of some products. We have now the trust of the users, and now we can say like, okay, maybe you want to try a new one which is less toxic, and that's basically something which we are working on at the moment. So there is definitely impact, and we are very happy about it.
Yeah, no, it's great to see that there is visible and measurable impact by the product. And talking about impact in the market, Mehmet has a question that has Plantix considered going into Turkey with this product, because he believes the farmers would find it really beneficial over there.
So Plantix is available everywhere. So you can download Plantix everywhere. So if you want to promote it somewhere, or if you want to test by yourself, you can do it. Maybe it's not fitted to the crops in your area, but you will then see it. We now go international. So at the moment, we're looking more at India, because also our big goal is to get cash flow positive by 2026. And if you take in a new country, you will have more costs in the beginning, and India is so big that you can easily monetize there. So monetization will take place there, and we want to concentrate on this, but we will now go into different countries. But the next countries which we have locked in is Kenya. That's normally the first country you do in Africa, because the smartphone penetration is high, and also the coverage is high, and you have still a lot of small scale farmers, and Mexico and some other parts of South America. So that's at the moment on the timeline for this year. But the most focus will be on India, because you have 500 million small scale farmers around the world. 250 are in India. And if you're going into another country, for example, Kenya, maybe you add like 10 million more or something like this. If you're adding a new language in India, maybe you add the same. So that's always the challenge.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective. Okay, so the next question is from Maran. I hope I'm not pronouncing it incorrectly. So Maran thanks Alex for the presentation. The question is, in his experience, Figma is a tool that UX designers use to show mockups. So are you a PM coming more from a UX expertise, and hence you are inclined to use Figma also for this purpose? He's curious basically, how do you capture opportunities on Figma?
No, so Figma, I don't know, so I was also not aware of it. So Figma is used by our designers, and before we have used Miro for organizing it, and still some people use Miro, but in the end, there's no Figma Jam. I think it's now 1 or 2 years old or something like this, right? I think Figma was also acquired by, I don't know anymore the history. And they have no Figma Jam, which is basically a Miro, and helps you. It's easy, also like a sketching tool. So you have the same, you can do it now there. So we don't use the normal Figma, the Pro version for it, because it's too complicated, but the Fig Jam version. And it's pretty handy. I think it's fine. I still like Miro better, but to have everything in one place. So Miro we sometimes use for workshops. It's a little bit more fluid, but if it's about like opportunity trees, which need to be stored also in the company account and stuff like this, then we use Figma, because normally that's our go-to tool. Yeah. But I'm not coming from UX research. I'm basically coming from nothing from product. In the end, I studied geography, and then was getting in. And that's why I had also to read so much about product frameworks and stuff like this, and needed to find my own way how to work with it. But no product managers basically by school a product manager in the end, right? So maybe now the first one's coming, I don't know.
Awesome. So we will take one last question before we conclude. So this question is from Rob, and he's joined us from LinkedIn. His question is that he has previously worked in agri-tech, where we use satellite imagery to identify pests and diseases within fields. In European countries, agronomists can be affiliated with the input suppliers, as they're also gatekeepers to the farm. Have you found through interviews ways to get the agronomists on board?
So in India, we have a lot of agronomists and extension workers that are using our app. It's not so big, for example, as you have it in Europe, where they are the gatekeeper and where basically you need to get them to sell products maybe to the farmers. So there we have done it, but we have a new product which is called Skyfield, which we now will develop, which is a farm management tool for large-scale farmers, also Western farmers, and there. The agronomist is one major part where we want to concentrate on, where we're giving them a overview on the field health and stuff like this. So definitely a good question. And yeah, so I think if you're giving the agronomist good tools to their hands, how they manage their farms and how they are also communicating with their farmers, because I think that's a big pain for them, how to communicate really with the farmers, because they do it via WhatsApp. And sometimes the farmers say like, hey, you have not done this. And if you basically have a tool where everything is basically stored, what the agronomist was doing, then the relation between them is very better. But I think that goes a little bit too far for all the other audience, because it's getting very deep into. But we can talk about it, Rob, if you need, just reach out via LinkedIn to me, and then we can sync on it.
Awesome. With that, we can conclude. So thank you so much, Alex. This was super interesting. I think the questions and the conversations were even more engaging. So to the audience, thank you for joining. We have these sessions every Tuesday. So we hope you join us again. We also have our meetup and Telegram and podcast links for the people who have joined us through Zoom. The links would be in the chat. And with that, thank you, take care, and have a good evening.
Thanks. Also, thanks for the questions. Really nice that it was so engaging. So I was fearing a little bit that everybody's leaving afterwards. So nice. Thanks.